Welcome to Digimon.
Hello and welcome to Digimon and another deck profile here on the channel. If you do like this video and our other ones, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell. We really appreciate all of the support, and obviously you won't miss out on any of our future content if you do so. Also, if you do want to see our other deck profiles, head down to the description below and you'll be able to find a playlist to all of our deck profiles on there. This is now the third one on the channel, so not the longest playlist, but it will be growing, so make sure to keep eyes on that. As for our deck profile today, we're going to be looking at one of two decks that featured in our Saturday match that just has gone by. And that was between Yellow Vaccine and WarGreymon. Now, I, of course, was playing WarGreymon, so you might have guessed, based on my card pool, that we are going to be looking at WarGreymon. I don't actually own Yellow Vaccine, but Dan, who was also in that match, does, so we'll be definitely looking to get his particular build onto the channel at some point, so make sure to keep an eye out for that if you're a fan of the yellow side of Digimon. For me, I've always been a Greymon player since I came into the game. Greymon's always been my favourite Digimon line. Black WarGreymon is my absolute favourite Digimon of all time, closely followed by WarGreymon himself. So I will be always playing lots of Greymon stuff and experimenting with different kind of ways to do things. So, but I wanted to look at a more aggressive version of the BT14 Greymon line, and as well as also the previous support. So this is kind of my take on it. Obviously, if there's any improvements that you think we could make, feel free to share those down in the comments, or if you want to show appreciation for the build itself, let me know. Also, you know, if you've built this deck after seeing this video and have tried it out, whether good or bad, let me know. Let me know how it went for you. Would be really interesting to hear what it was like for you. But as for the build itself, of course, we've got to start with our Digitamas. So I am going with 4 copies of, I'm going to put my pre-release on the top, 4 copies of the Coromon from BT14. It's the new boy in the block, so I wanted to really give it a go and just see how it goes. You can make an argument that this and another Coromon kind of do the same job, but in different ways. So this is great because it generically is when a card is removed from your opponent's security stack on your turn, draw 1. Which can be triggered by your rookies as well as your champions. You could also play the BT5 Coromon, which does a very similar job, except for it's Greymons and Omnimons that have to be in name to trigger this, and it's when they attack. So both do a very similar job, but this can be used by all of your Digimon, whereas this can only be used by 2 different named Digimon. But arguably, when attacking is going to be more reliable to trigger, whereas, you know, your Digimon will have to survive to get that when a card is removed from your opponent's security stack draw. So, you know, there is that to consider. You also could play 4 of the BT9 Coromon as well if you wanted to give yourself a bit more of a DP boost. But I find, especially in comparison to the Black WarGreymon OTK deck that I featured on the channel a couple of weeks ago, this egg's not as important for this deck specifically. Just because we've got so many different ways of boosting our DP anyway, it doesn't really matter as much. So I'm definitely favouring the BT14 Coromon. It's a new boy on the block. I want to give it a go, and we'll see how it goes from here on out. Next up, obviously, we've got to look at our rookies. Now again, if you saw our deck profile for the BT14 Black WarGreymon OTK build, this rookie line will look very, very similar. So we've got 4 copies of the BT14 Agumon, obviously just an improvement of the promo one. The start of main doesn't trigger as much as you would like sometimes, which is okay, but when it does, it's phenomenal. It just speeds up the game so much, especially late game. If you can pull it off, it's just brilliant. Obviously does need the tie to do that, so to help us find the ties, 4 copies of BT12 Agumon, best searcher in all of Greymon. No other card is a better searcher than this in the archetype. You know, searches a Greymon or an Omnimon as well as a tie, so searches very integral pieces to the overall game plan. Also has a very important kind of inheritable effect. because it works both offensively and defensively, whereas this one's only on the offense. Just giving that 1000 DP to your Greymons and Omnimons, really useful if you're in a situation where you do need to block and you need a slightly bigger Digimon on board. And then to round off the rookies, we've got 4 copies of BT9 Ogremon X. Technically speaking, the one from BT11 is better because of the inheritable. Technically speaking, it searches slightly different pieces as well, but this is red. It can digivolve on top of the Koromon if you need it to, so there's no issues there. So I think the way to go is still going to be this, really, unless you're playing more of a black base version. I would recommend the other Ogremon X from BT11. The other thing with this one as well is obviously you want to be digivolving mainly on top of this Ogremon, especially if you've gotten the, let's say you did this one in Raising, you hard played this one, and then you'll want to go Ogremon X on top of that one, just to make sure you get that search off. Also, obviously, you want to leave the start of main free, and you can't do that if you've digivolved on top of it, so obviously keep that in mind. Now, as I mentioned, this lineup is exactly the same as the lineup from the Black WarGreymon OTK deck profile we did the other day. I just think if you're being aggressive, this is the best kind of trio of cards that you need in the rookie line. However, if you wanted to play a 13th, I would probably go for this, the BT5 Ogumon. Helps you search your Greymons, helps you search your Omnimons. Great card, has been for a long time. I just couldn't find space for it this time around, but if I can, I will definitely be slotting it in future just to help us with that overall consistency. But that is our rookies. Next up is our champions. So we're going to start off 2 copies of possibly my favourite level 4 Greymon at the moment is the BT5 Greymon. Just because it's so good in conjunction with this, because you can go into it for free at start of main and gain a memory. Like, it's like a backwards loan. We're getting given stuff for doing stuff. It's brilliant. It's just fantastic, especially if you've got the BT12 tie out. Then you're not only doing it for free, you're gaining what you would have spent if you hadn't done it for free. It's just great. Obviously gives that a DP boost as well. Excellent card. Just bearing in mind, if you do digivolve on top of just Ogumon X, this does not count to trigger this digivolve, because it specifically says if this Digimon has Ogumon in its Digivolution cards, gain 1. So if you've digivolved on top of this and it's just Ogumon X, it will not trigger. If it's Ogumon X with another Ogumon under it, then you're fine, but just bear that in mind just in case it does turn up for you. You wouldn't want to be stuck in that situation where you've gone ahead with a play that you thought was great, and then your opponent says, that's not an Ogumon, actually. So just bear that in mind, but fantastic card. Next up, 2 copies of ST1 Greymon. If you're playing an aggressive version of Greymon, if you're not playing this, what are you doing? It's just brilliant. It gives you that security attack +1 nice and generically. There are worlds where we can go into it for free now, both with this and another card that's in the deck as well, and it's just fantastic. Now in the match on Saturday, I actually was playing 3 of each of these, so you could do that as well if you want to be more aggressive, but after finding that I wasn't having enough ties out, I decided to switch things up and actually go 2 copies of the EX1 Greymon. Now, the reason I went for this one over the BT12 one, because technically speaking, this has this lovely inheritable here, which is great, and then it can play out any of our ties, not just a cost 3 one. However, going into this one can leave you vulnerable, because you have to have this out in order to get its effect, whereas this can hide in the raising when you're until you're good and ready. Then you can swing away with it and get a tamer out. Also, in conjunction with one of our level 5s, you can actually potentially get 2 tamers out in 1 turn, which is really good. So I think I'm going to be trying this out in future. It's not in the match that was on Saturday, but I will be trying this out in future, just to go from there. If I don't like it, I'll go back to having 3 of these, I think, just for that aggression, really. But that is the start of our level 4s there. We've then got to get into the X-antibody versions of our level 4s. So of course we are playing 3 copies of BT9 Greymon X. Great card, brilliant for the protection. Obviously doesn't do anything when digivolving, so just bear that in mind, but helps to kind of get you more draw because it will digivolve for 0 on top of one of these. And that protection is absolutely integral, so you definitely want it. And then last but not least from the level 4s is going to be one copy of the BT11 Greymon X. It's banned for a reason. It's nigh on broken. it's just, you know, scary card. I mean, I remember in BT11 when this was at 4, it was spooky, but now we've got trading cards, etc. It's even worse. Like, it's so scary. So I would definitely, if you find this, if you draw this from your pieces, if you search it, you know, whatever, I would definitely hold on to it until you know you can definitely utilize it, because if you do not want to waste this card, you've only got one, do not waste it. But that is the level 4s. And then going into our level 5s, we've got 4 copies of BT12 Metal Greymon. The best Metal Greymon there is. Period. It just is. The raid is really good. Lets you play out a tamer that's cost 4 or less. Generically, a black or red tamer as well. So you can, you know, if you were to use this in Machine Dramon, you could play out Analog Man if you wanted to. The Inheritable won't do you anything, so I don't know why you would play it in Machine Dramon, but I'm just saying you could. But in Greymon, the Inheritable, piercing for a Greymon or Omnimon, brilliant. You want to block me? Don't think so, mate. I'm going to still beat over your Digimon and still get my checks off too. I will have my cake and I will eat it. You know, brilliant card. Absolutely fantastic. You can go into it for 1 on top of Greymon X as well, which is just, you know, chef's kiss. Then on next level 5, we've got 3 copies of the BT9 Metal Greymon X. This is where we're starting to kind of differentiate a little bit more. Obviously, we had a bit of a difference in our level 4s, but a little bit more in terms of our differentiating from our previous Battle Greymon OTK deck. Because all of our main level 6s are red, so therefore we can go into this. Cost for 0 on top of Metal Greymon. Then if you've got... when you digivolve into this, regardless, you get security tap +1, which is fantastic. But then if you've got Metal Greymon or X Antibody in the sources, you get 3000 DP. So really good card for getting us more aggressive, getting more checks off. It's, you know, brilliant. It can work defensively as well, because that DP boost, if you're having to use it defensively, can be really good as well, because suddenly you've got a really good blocker in the form of one of our level 6 cards, which can get reboot when you digivolve into it for the first time. So then our last level 5, 1 copy of Metal Greymon X from BT11. You could definitely play 4 of this instead if you wanted to shore up your aggression. However, with Yellow Vaccine running rampant, with Shine Greymon still being a thing, that DP reduction protection is still really important. Also, you know, if you do go up against some players that have got access to Digivolve, so, you know, there's always that one guy at locals who plays Machine Dramon, you know, for example, that Digivolution protection is really good. Also, can pop a 6k or less if you've got X Antipode or Metal Greymon in the sources, which can be really good to get out a blocker or some sort of annoying floodgate, you know, really, really good. And the Inheritable does come off in this deck as well. Specifically with one of our level 6s, it can get off more, but whereas the other ones not so much. But, you know, trash the security when you unsuspend if you've got Greymon or Omnimon in the name. You know, trashing security is the best way of removing security. You know, brilliant card. If I was playing Black WarGreymon as opposed to WarGreymon, I would probably play more of this, because I'll be honest, I kind of prefer this Metal Greymon X to this one. As an overall card, not necessarily in this deck. This card's definitely better, but as an overall card, I kind of prefer it to this one. You know, just because I have historically been more of a defensive control player than I have been an aggro one. I've just been switching it up to aggro recently to kind of change things up for myself, and to give, you know, some deck profiles that are a little bit more of a punch on the channel. But that's what my level 5s are. Then we're going to go into our level 6s. The first one we're playing 3 of is the BT12 WarGreymon. I can say this as a Greymon main, and I'm sure other Greymon mains very well will agree with me. This is probably the best single Greymon card ever printed. It just does everything, and it is the perfect card for raid. The raid that you get on some other cards, let's say the BT12 Gallantmon, for example, that came out in the same set as this, raid on that is almost kind of an afterthought, I kind of think, because it has the option to delete things, you know, before its checks go through. The raid is just there to help it to delete stuff that it can't with its own effects, and then you get 2 memory, which is great. It is still a good card. But raid on this is so much better. We've got piercing thanks to the BT12 Metal Greymon. It then, more importantly, unsuspends when it changes an attack target, and that's all turns. So that means offensively, it's guaranteed to attack twice. Even in the event it's only killed one, there's only one kind of Digimon on board, it's only killed one, and then, you know, this one will unsuspend. You can just swing again into security, for example, which hilariously is something I did get wrong during that match on Saturday. Feel free to rip into me in the comments on that one. I actually appreciate it. But, you know, then the other thing as well, when you Digivolve into this, it gains 3000 DP in reboot. So it makes itself bigger offensively, bigger defensively. If you have gone into it on top of this, you get that trash on the first turn because of the reboot. You also get it when an attack target is switched as well. Because let's say you have this underneath, someone's attacked in, you've blocked, and then attack target switched, I unsuspend, triggers that. So you get a trash when you've blocked something as well, which is really cool. But no, I friggin' love this WarGreymon. Best Greymon card that was ever printed, in my humble opinion. And I'm sure many other people would agree with me as well. Our next card coming in on the deck list is 2 copies of the new BT14 WarGreymon. Now I'm really annoyed because again, spoilers for that match, this didn't turn up at all when I wanted it to. So I think I will definitely be showing a test hand with this at the end of this video, showcasing this card, because it literally does everything. It's got so much stuff going on. If you have a tamer with Ty in its name, you can warp an Agumon into this for a cost of 4, so long as your opponent has a 10,000 DP Digimon in play, which often late game will come up. When Digivolving, it gains raid, and then it may attack, so it gains a pseudo blitz as well as the ability to raid into another Digimon. Then, if you've got a tamer, any tamer, might I add, this Digimon gains security attack 1 and piercing. So this card literally doesn't care about what's underneath it. It's going to give all the effects to itself anyway. it's so good. It's kind of just a little bit awkward, I think, in comparison to this WarGreymon. It doesn't. I think ideally it needs to be saved up for your late kind of recovery, or specifically if you wanted to swing in for massive damage in one hit, and you could. You know, but I do think it's a really fun card. I think it definitely needs some more playing around. I've actually seen a few people actually putting this into Agubond. Agubond, of all things, is making a bit of a comeback recently. I know I've still got Agubond cards, so if you do want to see Agubond on the channel, let me know. I'll definitely bring that back. It was a really funny deck back when I played it, back when I first started Digimon, and you know, this is a good fit for that deck. Then our last level 6, we're playing 1 copy of WarGreymon X Antibody from BT9. Now, actually, there's an absolute argument to play 2 of these, I would say, if you wanted to. I would say it doesn't come up as much, because really with this card, you can finish the game with one of these guys and our level 7 pick. However, this helps if you don't have enough memory to go into the level 7 past turn. So if you have X Antibody under one of these, swing with one of these, either of them. It will retain the effects from these guys. Then remove security, and you gain memory for each security stack that is removed. And that is all turns, not once per turn. So if you've done 1 swing and cleared 5, doesn't matter. You'll get 5 memory. You won't just get 1, because it's not once per turn. It will give you 5 memory, which is brilliant. Also helps to clear a body off the board if you've got WarGreymon or X Antibody in its Digivolution cards, as it will delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to its own DP at the end of its attack. Which, bearing in mind, we've got so many DP boosters, it can delete massive Digimon with that. But yeah, you could definitely go 2 of this. So you could probably go maybe 2-2-2, or like 3-1-2 if you wanted to. This is just the ratio I'm playing because I find it tends to work for me. And although WarGreymon X does come up for me, I don't find typically in testing it comes up all that much, just because we can swing for game so efficiently with these guys. But that is our level 6s. Then our level 7s, it's only one Digimon, but 2 copies of it. BT5 Omnimon, otherwise known as Blitz Omni. I mean, he needs no introduction, but the best game finisher in the game's history. You know, gains Blitz when he digivolves. He also unsuspends when he digivolves. So if you've attacked one of these and suspended, digivolve into this, unsuspend, Blitz, that's game. Brilliant card. Does also have the all turns effect. If an opponent's effect would delete this Digimon or return it to its owner's hand or deck, you may prevent it from leaving play by trashing a level 6 Digimon card in this card's Digivolution cards. So it can actually save itself twice via its own effect, which can be quite good if you've got it out as a big body for your defensive plays. But it doesn't need any more introduction than that. It's just, you know, the best game finisher there is. Then our tamers. So first of all, 3 copies. Yep, 3 copies of BT12 Tai. This is the best tamer in the whole Greymon archetype for me. You'll find, I think, that a lot of mini cards are the best in their of their kind of group, if you will. But this tie is brilliant. It has a cool boy effect when you digivolve into a Greymon or Omnimon, gain 1 memory. Start of main gives blocker and 1000 DP, which helps both offensively and defensively, obviously. Great card. Only issue is that it is black in colour, which can be an issue with one of our options. But, you know, because we've got so many searches to get ties and play out ties, it's not really that much of an issue. But that is our first tamer. And the last tamer is 2 copies of the OG BT1 Tai Kamiya. Obviously, if you've got a Digimon that is big enough, so it has 4 or more Digivolution cards, gains security attack +1. It's also a memory tamer and sets you to 3, which is very integral. Bearing in mind, obviously, if you're in the blue matchup, especially recently with the BT14 stuff, they've got so many ways of stripping sources. So you've got to keep count of your sources just to make sure you've still got your security attack. Also, bear in mind, only affects a red Digimon, so it will not affect your Omnimon. Everything else underneath it, it'll affect, but it won't affect Omnimon. So if you are in a position where Omnimon has had to come out early and you want to get checks in, try and get your checks in first with these guys before you do that. But that is our tamers. Then lastly, our options. We've got 3 copies of offense training. The training cards are kind of just a mandatory pick for so many different decks, and this will only whiff on the Omnimons and the black ties, so only on 5 cards in the whole deck. Everything else they will search. They will also reduce the cost of our Digimon when we go into them later, which is great for, you know, speeding up the game, late game recovery, you know, all that sort of stuff. And I think the combo that we'll be showing at the end of this video will include one of these. But great card. The training cards are brilliant. You know, I think some people definitely have been rubbed the wrong way by them, but no, they're brilliant. I'm definitely in a camp where in the camp of kind of enjoying these cards more than kind of thinking that they're ruining the game or anything like that. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see as time goes on. You know, how broken these more generic cards are going to be. You know, obviously Digimon's still a relatively young card game, and more generic cards, you know, in other card games have tended to be hit at certain points just because of their generic nature. You know, let's say, for example, Yu-Gi-Oh! Raigeki, for example, has been hit on the ban list before, just because of how generic it is. You know, not so much now. It's probably been power crept, I would say. But saying that, I've not played Yu-Gi-Oh! In a long time, so I could be wrong on that. But you know, that's just an example. Our next option card is 2 copies of X Antibody. These are really important for a lot of our plays involving our kind of level 5s and level 6s. Obviously, you have to have one of these underneath to do a proper combo with this guy. So swinging in with your WarGreymons, trigger X Antibody, digivolve into WarGreymon X, get your memory back. Also can be really good if you are with Metal Greymon, and then you Digivolve when it's done its raid into the Metal Greymon X, because it will still be raiding in because you've declared attack target, but it will be doing so as a much bigger body and now with piercing as well. So brilliant little combo there. Also can be cheeky in security to get you back a memory, which is pretty good. Now the last card is, I've kind of got this in here just because I'm playing a more aggressive Greymon build, but this is definitely kind of a flex spot, I would say. There's 2 copies of Gravity Crush. Really good for helping you to get that extra couple of memory just to kind of finish off the game properly. However, with the current meta, if there was something I was going to swap out, probably be these guys. And I'd probably swap in something like Hades Force or maybe Crimson Blaze, just to help us with wider boards, and also kind of be more security bombs, because this doesn't do anything in security, whereas these do. Crimson Blaze obviously is really good at kind of mitigating the Lugomon matchup, deleting all their smaller bodies and stopping them from playing Digimon by effects. Hades Force, great against more tamer related decks. So you could definitely swap these out, put in 2 of this or 2 of this or 1 of each. Or find your own tech cards to put in as well for your local meta. You never know what's going on store by store. But for now, Gravity Crush is doing the work for me. Right, now we've done the card by card. I'll set something up for a little test game showcasing off the new WarGreymon, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we've got our setup all at the ready. We've got Ty here to set us on 3. Ty here to give us blocker and 1000 DP, and an offense training to reduce things for us as we go on. And in the raising, a little Ogumon waiting to come out into the wider world and do some serious damage. And trying to stop us from doing that damage is a big scary turtley boy, who was so scary he fell over. But we've got Ogumon here, and we're going to start of raising, move on out, start of main, 1000 DP and blocker to our Ogumon, and then start of main with Ogumon, go into Greymon for free, draw for 10, draw for Digivolution, sorry. Then we're going to go 0 into Greymon X on top of that. Now you could very well go into BT11 Greymon X instead. In fact, for this situation, this would really speed things up, so it's probably the better pick, but you're more likely to come across Greymon X from BT9, because obviously this is a one-of. Just bear this in mind if you do have this in hand. Could be the better pick, but we're going to go ahead with Greymon X from BT9 just because. Then with offense training on the field, this does the job of our Greymon X essentially. We're going to go into Metal Greymon for a cost of 1. Do our tie effect at this point, go up to 3. Obviously we could have used it earlier as well. Then we're going to go 0 into Metal Greymon X. Gain 3000 DP because we've got Metal Greymon in the sources, and security attack +1 off of its own kind of generic effect. Now at this point, if this Jumbo Gamemon were going to try and block us when we attack, we are now bigger than it, now. Obviously we can't choose to attack into it, but we are bigger than it, so it might want to think twice about blocking our Metal Greymon X, but we're looking to go even further beyond. So to do that, before we do anything, we're going to put X antibody under here for a very specific reason. Then we're going to go into WarGreymon for 4, because we're going to be doing this combo with BT14 WarGreymon, as mentioned, not the BT12 one. If you did do BT12, you may not need the X antibody for this combo, but we will need it for this one. Then when Digivolving, we gain Raid, and we may attack, so we're going to take the effect up on its offer and attack, declaring Raid into the Jumbo Gamemon. We, when attacking, because we've got the Tamers, gain security attack +1 and piercing. So we're currently attacking in on 15, 17, 18k with security attack +1, 2, 3, 4. So piercing 5 checks. However, before we do anything else, X antibody will come in, because we need this to clinch the game with this combo. We're then going to go into WarGreymon X for a cost of 1. It retains all of the when Digivolving effects from the previous WarGreymon, as well as the other Digimon as well, because it's all for the turn. Jumbo Gamemon will then have a heart attack and die, being beaten over by our WarGreymon X. With the piercing, we do 5 checks, thanks to all of our security things. So we gain 5 memory, taking us back up to 3. We'd also delete anything that is smaller than the WarGreymon X or equal in strength. So highly unlikely that Digimon are going to be bigger than us at this stage. It's plausible still, so obviously bear it in mind, but anything smaller than 18k is dust. Then, to finish the game completely, we're going to Digivolve for 4 into Omnimon, unsuspends when Digivolving and has Blitz, and swings for game. So that's your OTK right there. A couple of differences to bear in mind is if you had gone into BT12 WarGreymon instead of the BT14, it would have only cost us 3 anyway, and would have then beaten over the Jumbo Gamimon with piercing anyway. Would have done not as many checks, but it would have unsuspended after attack target was switched, so it could then swing in again, and then you could go in the Omnimon to finish off the game. You wouldn't even need the X antibody or the WarGreymon X plays. You also could, in the event that you didn't have all of your stuff in the middle, you could have warped, having put the X antibody underneath here, of course, into WarGreymon, then swung, then gone into WarGreymon X from BT9, gotten in for a couple of checks, and then gone into Omnimon to finish off the security, not the game, because it would do 3 checks with this, because security attack was 1, 2, so 3 checks. And then you go into this, you actually lose the security attack from your tie, because it's no longer red, but you still retain it from WarGreymon, so you'd then be able to swing in and do the other 2 checks. So this wouldn't be an OTK, but if you didn't have all your stuff in the middle and you did need to warp here, that's still an option to do some really big damage. But yeah, that's the deck profile, guys. Thank you very much for watching, if you've stuck with us to this point in the video. As I said at the beginning of the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and ding the notification bell for more of our content. Next gameplay video is coming out on... Bye, Ty. Ty's done. But make sure to come and see us on Wednesday if you do wish to see our next match at 6 o'clock British Standard Time. But until then, keep it digital, guys.